And so part of what we're trying to do now is to, again, get that big why out there. The big why out there is to figure out how we can radically improve the readiness, getting students to and through higher education. And part of what we're trying to do with this challenge is to have the larger IT community, people who are dialoguing about the use of technology, not just talking about the bells and whistles, not just oohing and awing over the features and functions, but being radically tough-minded about whether or not these technologies are improving student success. Are they helping more students be successful and be ready for college? Are they helping more students complete? Does that make sense?
Yes.
But it means we've got to bring that data together with the innovations and bring that tough-mindedness together and figure out how we can do this work. So part of what we're trying to do with this initiative is to think about how we can engage the innovators, the people who are in the institutions, in the corporations, running the R&D departments of the major technology companies, so they can begin leveraging their best kind of will and skill towards this end. And this is one of our, kind of what we would call our open approach to that initiative. You want to talk a little bit more about it specifically?
Sure. So we make a couple different kinds of investments around technology and education. In some cases, we're making very direct investments. We're working with individual partners, seeing promising things and trying to give them the support and the runway to succeed. Other cases, we know there's a lot that we don't know about. And so this is really our first foray to say, we know what rocks are worth looking under, but we don't know what we'd find. And it's really folks that are in the field who are doing the work that we're really trying to help identify and help connect them to the resources, the other innovators, and ultimately to institutions and students to help take those ideas to larger scale. So our approach is not about invention. So we're not saying come with us, come to us with every cool new idea, or come to us with a technology that says this could be used for. If your sentence starts with this could be used for, you're too early for the type of work that we're really focusing on. We're asking to try and find the folks who've been doing some of the work that says, this has worked with 50 students or 100 students or a couple hundred students. I managed to beg, borrow, and steal resources on my campus. Or I'm an entrepreneur who created this product and I got it piloted somewhere. And so we're really trying to connect those islands of innovation, not just add more. So we're really trying to build on the work of others.
And I just want to jump in on that. Well, we talked about islands of innovation in the morning session, this notion of that in some ways higher education has been radically successful at segregating technology innovations, at saying, okay, you can do that, but do that over there, and don't let it impact the way most of us do our work in education, right? And what we're trying to say is with this initiative is let's look at those proven and promising innovations in technology and figure out how we can burst them through so we can think about how they can touch most of the students that are going through.
That's right. Another thing that we're doing, the third point here, is I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the partners that we have involved here. And we've expressly partnered with the folks who've got a lot of knowledge in this area and a lot of access to institutions, to innovators and entrepreneurs, so that we're not just supporting the supply side, innovation, saying, hey, here's some more resources, keep banging your head against the wall. But we're trying to also bring the demand side together to help make those networks and those connections happen so that between the foundation community and some of these large membership organizations, we also have opportunities to connect those large institutions serving lots of students and other ways to reach lots of students who need these innovations and connect them with the innovators. We also, the last slide talked about, do we need a 2x return on education, a 2x improvement, doubling the effectiveness of education? Well, we're not going to get there by just a lot of 1%, 2% solutions. It's going to have to change 3 or 4 things all at the same time. We know there's not a silver bullet, but maybe there's some silver buckshot. So we are trying to push the envelope and shake things up, and if it's a little bit provocative, a little bit creates a little bit of nervousness, that's probably a safe place to actually be finding real innovation. The other thing that we found is we're putting resources behind this. The first wave, which I'll talk about in a minute, is up to $20 million, and we're going to have a wave of these every 6 to 12 months. But we're really finding that the market signal of saying we care about this, we're really looking hard at learning analytics. We think that use of data to drive improvement and drive student success is pretty ripe. We're hearing a lot of feedback that says, yeah, I think that's right. It is real now. And so I think the ability to kind of help share what we're seeing and learning and the evidence that we're finding is oftentimes as important as any dollars that we put into this. And lastly, we're acting with a sense of urgency. We're trying to move very quickly. We gave people 6 weeks to respond to the first initial application for proposals. We're only providing $250,000 up to $750,000 in 12 months to move the needle on student success. So we know that we're asking people to do things that are really hard, and it's only in those moments of when you don't have enough resources, you don't have enough time, you start to break through some of that not invented here. You start figuring out how do we beg, borrow, and steal and partner with others to figure out how to make this happen. If we give people $5 million in 5 years, we'll start building a lot more silos, right? So, all right, so what's the program? Three broad parts: investment capital, an evidence base. Everything we invest in, we're gonna gather data and share that as quickly as possible. We're trying to accelerate the prototyping time. We don't wanna have to wait 3 years for an academic journal to come out with a study of something that was really cool in 2007, but how do we get that evidence out there as quickly and in a much more formative way, and really create that, help to share the community. So sharing that information broadly and linking different folks who are interested in this world. So we want this to be a very open and opt-in participatory environment. As I said, waves every 6 to 12 months. The first wave we announced in October. Bill Gates helped us announce it, which the reason we really pushed for that was to make sure we reached as many folks as we could to get this idea out there. 4 challenge areas: open core courseware. How do we help start getting high quality interactive digital content? There's been a lot of talk about how we're going to move beyond the ebook to high quality interactivity. How can we get that work accelerated, but also bring the institutions and the folks who are ultimately going to need to buy in and adopt that into part of that process. So we're not just building it and then trying to go push it into the institutions.
And by the way, a big part of that is trying to stimulate innovations in open courseware at scale. So people who are willing to come with 20, 30 institutions, large groups of students who are willing to leverage that model in a bigger way, so it's not a pilot program on the side.
Yep. Blended learning, how are we combining the best of face-to-face with these technologies, particularly for the low-income students that we work for. We believe that the blended experience is going to be the best for most of them in the near term. Deeper learning engagement, how do we think about using new interactive technologies, be they gaming, social platforms, adaptive platforms, to increase the learning outcomes. And learning analytics. We've talked a lot today about the use of data to drive student success, and how do we get that information as close to the teaching and learning moment as possible, so that it's students and its faculty and its advisors who are empowered with as real-time data as possible to help steer that student experience, so it's not just data that's 2 or 3 years retrospective. Later this month, we're going to announce the second wave of challenges, which is going to focus primarily on high school education. And we hope to later this year announce an additional wave. And that's part of what we want to get your input on today. So be thinking about your wish list. So here's a little just inside baseball update. I think you're the first group that we've shared this information with. So this is what we've seen from wave 1. As I mentioned, we gave folks 6 weeks to come up with a concept and fill out a short web form, and we'll be inviting finalists later this month. We got over 600 pre-proposals, and these are teams. Almost all of these are multiple institutions or multiple organizations partnering together, multiple people involved. So the readiness, the excitement around this field that all of you are involved in is tremendous, as evidenced by the response here. You can see in the bottom left how it's broke out in terms of the different challenge areas in a self-reported way. And then on the side, you can also see who's really been applying. 3/4 are U.S. nonprofits. Obviously, we're a foundation, and so our grant money flows a lot easier to nonprofits. But you'll see a full quarter of or near quarter of the applications came from the for-profit community, foreign entities, or even government entities. Especially with the current budget situation, the 6% is not surprising. So here's who we're working with. EDUCAUSE is the lead partner. We're also working with the League for Innovation in the Community College, CCSSO, and INACOL, the International Association for K-12 Online Learning. This spans both K-12, particularly thinking about middle school, high school, and post-secondary, and the Hewlett Foundation's been involved with us in shaping this work as well. And so these are really the folks who are leading the work. We're helping to shape it and to fund it,